disaster in the history of humanity. So on that note, I'm here because I have a voice and I want to use it. I have someone right here behind me called Greg. He's got a voice and he's got something he'd like to say. So Greg, please, would you come on board?
Yes. There we go. Everybody hear me? Good afternoon, Patriots. How are you? All right. This group of people, it's not about politics, but unfortunately, that's where we are. And we've been painted into this corner. And Canada, in the last 3 months, has crossed the threshold from democracy into police state, literally. From Arthur Pulaski and Reverend Coates in Alberta, Reverend Hildebrandt in Ontario, other clergy across the country, and yesterday, the only politician federally in this country that's traveling the country speaking about this document right here, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, was arrested, put in handcuffs, and taken to jail by the RCMP in Manitoba under the, excuse my French, bullshit auspices of a health order in Manitoba, while their hockey team flies back and forth to Montreal playing hockey without quarantining. So rules for thee, but not for me. And if you think that isn't coming from the Little Potatoes office in Ottawa, you're sadly mistaken. So I did a quick list of countries in the history of the world that have jailed political and religious dissidents for speaking against the state. And now Canada is in that group. So we'll start with Nazi Germany, who rounded up clergy, people of note that spoke against what old Adolf was doing. The Soviet Union created an entire network of prisons in Siberia called the Gulag system for people who spoke out against the government. Cambodia, under Pol Pot, executed 3 million people out of a population of 8 million people in the 1978-79. And of course, Justin's favorite crew, Communist China, where they throw Falun Gong and Muslim Uyghurs in concentration camps. And we all know how much he admires their basic dictatorship. You see, like, tyrants always tell you who they are. They tell you who they are. You have to believe them. Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. Adolf Hitler wrote Mein Kampf. It was their blueprint. They told you what they were going to do. Justin sat in a TV studio in Toronto with a bunch of giddy soccer moms where he said, "I admire China's basic dictatorship." 6 years later, where are we? Now Max was arrested, and almost immediately, the Kyles and the Karens got online and started saying, well, all he had to do was follow the rules. Well, everybody's been following the rules because we were told 16 months ago, it's just going to be 2 weeks to stop the spread. 16 months later. So, did Rosa Parks follow the rules when she got on the bus in Mobile, Alabama and sat in the whites only seats?
No, she didn't.
Did Martin Luther King Jr. follow the rules when he marched hand in hand with 1 million black men in Washington, D.C.?
No.
Did Mahatma Gandhi follow the rules when he had a sit-in in the Indian Parliament protesting British rule? No, he didn't. When you follow the rules, you get, it's just 2 weeks. Now this weekend is beautiful. They've given us a teaser, lifted restrictions, but 2 weeks ago, and a little underhanded play, Chairman Ford passed an edict giving him 7 more months of emergency powers. So do you think this is going away anytime soon? Not happening. We're already being programmed. If you haven't seen in the media, they're already talking about all these public health Nazi chiefs are talking about the 4th wave. Look around. Okay, we've transcended any pretense of this being about health. We had a tragedy in London this week, and the bodies are, I'm not sure they've even in the ground yet, but every politician that could get a plane or a bus or a limo to London beat their way there. They lifted the exemptions for organizing because it was to mourn, apparently, although none of us have been able to mourn a loved one for 16 months with a proper funeral. And it had nothing to do with health. They use it as a photo op. Before any investigation was done, they concluded this was hate without any proof whatsoever, and use the occasion to drive wedges between all of us. They stood up there and called people like us white supremacists and racists. And make no mistake, that's what it was about. It was to drive wedges and brand people who speak against their narrative as somehow distasteful or insane or unfit to be citizens. They have nothing but contempt for us, for you, for your family, for your business, for your way of life. Where's Vic Fideli? Why isn't he down here explaining his government's actions to us? If he was responsible and he really cared about everybody, he'd want to get his message out. But he isn't. He's hiding. He puts an email or a presser out every 2 weeks talking about what a great job they're doing. Where's Anthony Rota? Hiding in Ottawa. He's got enough time in for his gold-plated parliamentary pension now. And he sits on the throne, the speaker's throne in the House, pretending to dispense wisdom. There's no left or right anymore. There's no political parties in this country. They're all part of the same club.
We're not in it.
And we aren't in it. Exactly right, Joanna. I have that written down here. We aren't in it. Yeah, no. Nailed it. They use that term left and right now, as I said earlier, just to drive wedges. Keep us normal people at each other's throats while they enrich themselves at our expense. From Jason Kenney, Dr. Evil in his Sky Palace eating ribeyes on white linen with $60 bottles of Cabernet, looking out over Edmonton at us normal people. That's okay. Justin flying to Europe and then flying back without using his own rules of quarantine to come and call us names in London. That's okay. My Algonquin grandmother, by the way, would laugh her ass off if she was here to hear one of them call people like us racist. Just as an aside. So here, just as Joanna noted, the quotation marks police came over with the bylaw guy and tried to give us the bums rush out of here. I don't know if any of them are familiar with this document called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but I invite them to come over and read it, because in Section 2, it guarantees us the right of peaceful assembly. We are on public land. Our taxes paid for this pavilion. Sorry, I'm wound up. I'm trying not to swear. So I wanted to ask the police if they were here, and I just want to have a conversation with them. How long do you think it's going to be before some politician in this country gives the directive to them to start shooting people like us.
Yeah.
Are they prepared to do that? They've already used tear gas on just an assembly like this. There was a lot more people there because Quebecers are a lot more belligerent about standing up for themselves. But there was no violence. It was just a collection of people marching to protest for their freedoms. The police waited for them to finish and then tear gassed them.
They were children.
Children, elderly, people just speaking out for their rights. So how big of a step do you think it is before we get to more widespread violence instigated by the police? This is not Canada. This is not. I wore this country's uniform for 6 years, and then I served my community for 30 years after that. I do not recognize this country anymore. I try not to get wound up, but there's no option to sit on the fence anymore. You have to pick a side. So you're either for freedom and liberty and less government intervention in your life, or you just throw your hands up and say you're totally okay with this crap. And that's the way it's going to be. If you are at your limit and you want to stand up for your rights, just speak out. Spread the word. Talk to your family, your friends, your colleagues, not with anger, but with compassion. And not with fear, but with joy. Because you look at when you come here, does everybody not have a good time just talking to people? And not with desperation, but with determination. This is like literally the fight of our lives. I never thought my generation would live through something like this. But that's where we're going, and you have to take a stand. Like, evil, corruption, and tyranny cannot be allowed to win. That's what it is. You know, it's got nice fluffy, words like Justin likes to use, sunny ways. But they're not going to win if we stand together. John F. Kennedy said, and I think the quote was originally attributed to Edmund Burke, but nobody can really track that down. But the words ring true. And he says, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is that good men stand by and do nothing. So look inside your hearts, find your courage, find your voice. Look around you. We are many, they are few. Okay? I know it's hard, but we got to do it. Let freedom reign. My name's GregGalante. I want to be your PPC candidate in Nipissing Temiskaming. If you want to help me, come and talk to me. I'll tell you how you can do that. And I swear to you, with Jesus Christ as my witness, I will make Anthony Rhoda's life miserable. I'm a grumpy, retired veteran with nothing better to do with my time than cause shit. Come and talk to me. Everybody enjoy the afternoon. Love you all. Thank you.